The heart of my home is the kitchen. And at this time of the year, it's the perfect place to gather and celebrate the festive season. For me, Christmas is all about rustling up some fantastic food and eating it in the company of my favourite people. These are the dishes that I cook when I want to spread a little bit of cheer. These are my Christmas home comforts. Christmas is a time for giving, but it's the presents you've taken the trouble to make yourself which reflect this special time of year. And I've got tons of ideas for homemade treats that make perfect gifts for the festive season. So I'm knocking up some Christmas goodies for the carol singers. You got to sing for your supper in this house, you know. In Austria, Annie Gray gets top marks for her cranberry chocolate.
I've done well.
And back here, I'm cooking Mary Berry a very special meal. Mary. And trying hard not to ruin a Christmas jumper.
Are you trying to get it?
I'm not trying to get it. The lobster get its own back.
You're doing quite well.
But first, I'm getting things off to a magical start with my snow-covered take on a time-honoured tradition. Gently spiced and covered with candy, all the kids will fall in love with it. Even the big ones like me. Now, as Christmas presents go, you can't beat the excitement of a group of kids diving in to a gingerbread house. Well, I'm not going to do a gingerbread house, I'm going to do a gingerbread garage, and I've got a load of kids coming around to dive into it later. But it all starts with an amazing spiced gingerbread mix. To make the biscuit walls, cream together 400 grams of softened butter with the same amount of soft brown sugar. Then drizzle in 2 tablespoons of treacle and 200 grams of golden syrup and mix everything together. Next, add 2 tablespoons of ground ginger, 4 teaspoons of mixed spice, 1 teaspoon of ground cloves, and half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. Just carefully mix it now to mix in all those spices. Now, you're not creating a cake, so you don't have to beat the hell out of it. You're just creating a biscuit. So once all your spices are together, stop the machine and then throw in a kilo of flour. This is why it's important. Depending on the size of your house or garage, will depend whether you make this in 2 batches or not. Mix in the flour along with 2 tablespoons of water. Then tip this batch of mix onto the work surface. Start to pull the dough together, adding another tablespoon of water if it feels dry. Then gently knead it until it forms a dough. It doesn't really matter if you overwork it a little bit. Perfect. Now for the templates. You can order them online and simply print them out. But I've made my own because instead of a house, I'm going to do a garage. Lay 1/3 of the dough on a silicone mat, lightly dust with flour, and roll it out to roughly 3 mils thick. So once you get to that stage, you can grab a little template like that, use a knife, then cut round. You can still use all the trimmings as well from the edge. Next, grab a cookie cutter to make a window. Press through, take that bit out. And there you have one of your gable ends. And just repeat the process with all the templates, really. Well, then I've set the oven quite low for this one, because we're going to gently cook these. And these want to cook for about 17 to 18 minutes. Now, obviously, you need the mortar for your brickwork, and for that, we turn our attention to icing. To make it, mix together 650 grams of icing sugar with 3 egg whites and beat for at least 10 minutes. It needs to be rich, smooth, and thick enough to decorate and hold the gingerbread pieces together. When the gingerbread is ready, trim the pieces one more time to match the templates. And then leave them to cool down before you attempt the big build. Now this is the kind of royal icing that we want. Nice and firm. We don't want it too wet. It's never going to stick the biscuits together. Next, fill a piping bag with the royal icing and pipe a thick foundation line onto a base board and carefully stick down the walls. Then pipe between the sides to strengthen. Cement never tasted this good. To be honest, there's something actually enjoyable about doing this. It's a bit like a fancy Airfix kit. To finish, be as decorative with the icing as you like and add a final designer flourish with some sweets. Well, my favourite ones at school were always floral gums. They tasted like soap. Why I liked them, maybe I didn't like sharing with other people. Nobody else seemed to like them on the bus. Not quite finished yet. This is a garage, remember? Now that's a garage I'd like to park my car in. Sweet, spicy, and completely edible. Willy Wonka would be proud. But before the kids can tuck in, there's a few presents to hand out first. Brilliant. That's yours, buddy. Good. Let's go grab some gingerbread. Okay, guys, this is my present to you. And it's all edible, apart from the cars. Dive in.
Geez, magical. Drink the whole room. Gotta drink the whole room.
Oh.
Giant, enormous bash.
See, 4 hours to make, 5 seconds to destroy. My house is always full of sweets and treats at this time of year. But if you have a very sweet tooth, Austria is the place to indulge it at Christmas. We sent our festive food reporter, Annie Gray.
Austria's long-standing love affair with cakes, baking and all things sweet really comes into its own at Christmas. I spent the last few months here meeting the artisans and food producers who transform this country into the capital of Christmas food. And my next stop is in the heart of Tyrol. In the mountains above Landeck, I met Therese Fiegel, mastermind of Tiroler Edler, an artisan chocolate made with ingredients from the surrounding mountains, and the milk of an unusual local dairy cow.
We tried to get only milk from Tyrolean grey cows, which is not easy because there are not so many grey cow farmers. But we did it, and we have especially one farmer who is delivering to the confectioner every week.
The Tyrolean greys, a formerly endangered breed, have been grazing on herbs and grasses high up in these mountains for more than 3,000 years. Their bells play the soundtrack of Tyrol, and they produce a flavoursome milk, perfect for Therese's chocolate. All the products that go into the chocolates are local, aren't they? So things like honey, what else do you use?
We have honey, we have different kinds of nuts, we have mint, also cranberries, and we get it over here.
With all those local ingredients, that must mean the chocolates are really seasonal. How does that affect what you make all year round?
We have some chocolates only in autumn and some only in spring, and in summertime we don't produce any chocolates because the grey cows are up in the high mountain pasture and we said our cows are on holiday.
That's brilliant!
Yes.
The cows might be part-timers, but down in the valley, Therese's master chocolatier, Hans-Jörg Haag, is busy all year round. Their chocolates now come in 45 different flavours, 5 of which have recently been added to the Selfridges chocolate library.
Hallo! Hallo, Annie.
And today I'm going to help Hans-Jörg make his Christmassy cranberry chocolate.
Was mir da Preiselbeeren braucht und jetzt machen wir eine Preiselbeerfüllung.
What makes these chocolates so special, so perfect for a Christmas gift, is all of these locally sourced fillings. This is milk from the local Tyrolese grey cows.
Und Preiselbeeren, da tun wir die Preiselbeeren
Okay.
rein. Ready?
These cranberries grow on a nearby hillside, and the first stage is to add them to the rich Tyrolean cream. What we're doing here is heating this.
Ja.
We're just going to put all of this cut chocolate into our hot cream and cranberry mix. Effectively, we're making a ganache. The mixture must now cool and thicken up before it can be poured into the chocolate moulds. Obviously, if it was boiling hot, the whole thing would melt and we'd have an almighty mess and I'd just have to eat it. So it's probably better that we've left it to cool. When it's cooled, it's time to pipe the cranberry mixture carefully into the chocolate shells. It's quite something to know that we're piping into chocolate, and behind us, if I just looked out the window, I'd see the cows and could probably, if I squinted, fields where the cranberries were growing that are going into this.
Jetzt kommt noch der Deckel oben drauf.
Okay. The last thing to do when these are cooled enough is to put one more layer of chocolate on top so that you've got a sandwich of this sort of half milk, half dark chocolate, which is gorgeous. The cream, cranberry, chocolate layer, and then another layer of chocolate itself, which really is a sort of Tyrolean chocolate sandwich. And I am going to put the final touch on top.
Okay.
So, mehr?
Ein bisschen mehr.
Okay. And all made here in these beautiful surroundings with the mountains outside the window. Beautiful it may be, but will my attempt at Christmassy cranberry chocolate impress Hans-Jörg?
Okay.
Okay.
Sehr gut gelungen. Gratuliere.
I've done well. Excellent. I think this looks perfect for Christmas. Can't wait. I promised Hans-Jörg I'd keep his chocolate for Christmas morning. Yeah, right. This is really special. It not only looks really good, but now I've seen it made, I understand that it's totally regionally specific to here, the Tyrol. I look at these mountains and I eat them. This is the kind of gift I would be so proud to give my friends for Christmas.
If you're anything like me, you hate turning up to somebody's house empty-handed over the festive period. Well, I have a Christmas cracker of a dish that will be welcome at anyone's door, and it uses up all those seasonal leftovers. Now, you can call this a chicken pan bagna or basically a fancy chicken sandwich. Call it what you want, but this is a great thing to take round to your friends around Christmas time. It's really a special sandwich. You're almost making a terrine, really. But the first thing I'm going to do is make our sauce for this. And it's basically just a simple orange and cranberry sauce. So we take some cranberries. These are frozen cranberries, which are perfect for this. We grab some orange juice, throw the whole lot in, and basically bring this to the boil. And while that's coming to the boil, I'm just going to crush up some juniper. Add the well-crushed juniper berries to the pan, along with some caster sugar and some orange zest. Bring it to the boil and let it simmer for 5 minutes. Now, while that's happening, we can then grab our chicken. And then what we want to do with this is basically just rip it up and keep all the meat, including the skin, but take out all the bones. Just do it quite carefully, because some of the bones are a little bit dodgy, like that one. And also with the chicken, get this bit here. This is what's known as the oyster, or the eye, there. You've got this amazing knuckle of meat just underneath the leg area where the thigh is. That's the best part of the chicken, and one that the cook always keeps for themselves. Delicious. Consider it as a gift to myself. You can make this with entirely anything you want. Bit of turkey, bit of beef, pork. It's entirely up to you. But it all starts with the star of the show, which is one of these. Because what you're going to use this for is a nice terrine. And as we layer it all up, it'll hold in all that nice flavour. So the first thing we do is make a little hole in the top. Lift this out. The smell of sourdough is fabulous. Yes, I know, that was another little gift to myself. But you need to rip out all the bread from the loaf centre to make way for the sandwich filling. You can always keep the bread to make stuffing. So our chutney is now ready. Switch this off and grab... I'll just press this down just a little bit, just to break the cranberries. I'm starting my sandwich assembly with a layer of cranberry chutney and some sliced red onion. Throw that in the base. We can then grab some rocket. This is purely for colour. You can just put basil in there if you wanted to. A little bit of little gem. It's entirely up to you. Courgettes, anything you've got left over. I've got some stuffing here, sage and onion stuffing. That can go in. I've also got mozzarella cheese in the mix too. Now, every couple of layers, you want to stop, grab some seasoning, salt and black pepper. And then you can put a layer of this chicken in. Keep layering the various fillings, including those juices and onions from the roasted chicken pan, until you reach the top of the bread. You've got some of the cranberry sauce. Now, you want to put a little bit on the top. And obviously you've got the lid, so spread it around the top of salt and pepper. Like that. Now really the key to this as a Christmas present is wrap it up. But we're not talking tinsel and Christmas paper here, just good old cling film. And we have it nice and tight like that. Stick a nice little label on it, Happy Christmas, Doreen. Lovely. The wrap sandwich can now be stored in the fridge for up to 5 days. But I can't wait that long to open this Christmas present. Check out this for the ultimate Christmas sandwich. Ho, 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 ho. See, how good does that look? And if you're wondering how it tastes, don't take my word for it, take theirs. Come on, guys. Someone's got to feed the elves.
Yum. I'm just going to go for the slice.
That's amazing. That's the way to do it.
That's so good.
It's like a leftover Christmas dinner sandwich.
It is perfect.
That's actually my idea of heaven.
This is one almighty sandwich stuffed with leftovers to be loved over. Bring this to the homes of friends and family and you'll be more welcome than Santa. You don't get many leftovers with you lot. Of course, one of the best things to eat with any festive leftovers are chutneys and relishes, which always make a welcome seasonal present. And just a few miles from where I grew up in Yorkshire, Sarah Puckett produces a range of pickles and preserves inspired by her seafaring family. The exotic ingredients they brought home still take her right back to her childhood.
The fondest memory for me was what Mum used to call a fridge cleaning supper, where we would have lots of leftover meats and cheeses, and then Dad, who was the big chutney maker, would open his chutney cupboard and out would come all these weird and wonderful pickles and chutneys and all sorts of goodies. So for me, chutneys and pickles always evoke a really nice, warm family feeling.
Sarah's father and both of her grandfathers were sailors, who always brought unusual ingredients and spices back from their travels.
My grandmothers used to make them into fantastic chutneys. They used to have their own veg gardens too, so they would use lots of British produce but then put a little bit of a twist on it by adding in all these different spices that my grandfathers had brought home.
Sarah's own chutneys, based on her granny's original recipes, went down so well with her friends, she decided to turn her hobby into a business.
I quit my job, I bought 2 pans, 2 wooden spoons, and off I went. And all my friends thought I was completely mad. But I decided that I was going to give it a go, and at least I'd tried. And here I am, 2 years further down the line. You can always spot somebody who's really passionate about making pickles and chutneys, because we've all got really bad hands, because we keep our hands in lots of salt and lots of cold water.
Ah well, bad hands make good pickles. And with her busiest time of year fast approaching, Sarah's on the lookout for new variations. Every walk in the Yorkshire countryside is a chance to search for seasonal produce in nature's very own larder.
Let's have a look.
I'm foraging for sloes. We had a good hard frost last night. As soon as you've had the good hard frost of the year, then you can go out and get the sloes, and they're fantastic for putting into port or gin, and it goes really well with my red currant and sloe port chutney, which is lovely for Christmas. But they're quite tricky to pick because quite spiky.
Armed with last year's homemade slowberry port, Sarah's now ready to make that seasonal chutney.
This one is designed, it's nice and sharp, so it goes really well with your festive goose, but it's also fantastic for sticking with fatty meats like duck or lamb. This one we're going to pop on the table for Boxing Day.
Most commercial chutneys take months to ferment and mature, but as Sarah uses a mild cider vinegar rather than the more acidic malt version, hers can be eaten within 24 hours. And alongside her chutneys, she also produces these. But be careful, her family recipe for pickled onions does come with a health warning.
So if you like your pickled onions hot, you snap your chilli, and if you like your pickled onions to have just a little bit of heat, then you keep your chilli whole. Or if you're like Dad, then you take a whole heap of chillies, you snap them all, and then you might put in 1 or 2 pickled onions. After Boxing Day, we tend not to get an awful lot of visitors in our house, but I've no idea why.
I think I can guess. Anyway, one final question. What does Sarah do with all the fresh veg that doesn't end up in a pickle?
And the best thing of all is, when you've finished your Christmas party, you then take your garland to pieces and you've got a cracking soup, which will keep you going all the way through January.
Friends and family have gathered for a festive supper, and Sarah's being Santa, laying the table with a feast of different chutneys, because everyone has their own favourite bit on the side.
Carrot and cardamom is a personal favourite of mine, and it goes with ham, which is, you know, you tend to have a cold ham at Christmas Day, and it's very good with cheese and things like that.
Pear and eggplant, it's my absolute favourite. Delicious with sheep's cheese. Rob's is the chilli jam.
I love to have it with burgers, steak. It's really nice. Love it.
I think this is so lovely that when you've worked really hard and you're really passionate about using lots of fresh and local or British produce, there's no better symbol of love and friendship than all your friends and family all sat round at Christmas time, all really enjoying a really good meal with some really good quality pickles.
A jar of pickle or chutney is a great foodie present to give at this time of the year. But what if you want individual edible treats to satisfy a Christmas crowd? Thankfully, I always have these to hand. They're even gift wrapped. Now, there are many great food gifts you can give people at Christmas time, but this has to be the ultimate, Panettone, and it's really simple to make. So the first thing we're going to do is take a selection of dried fruit, and for that you can use whatever you want, really. I've got some candied peel, which is the usual sort of thing in Panettone, because you get that nice little sharpness with the zest from the peel. I'm also adding 100 grams each of golden sultanas and cranberries and a splash of rum. We want not too much, about 2 tablespoons of rum. You're not soaking it in the alcohol, it's just a light coating of the rum. Now we can leave that to one side. Meanwhile, we can get on with making our most important part of this, is the batter or the dough. To 425 grams of strong flour, add 60 grams of caster sugar, a teaspoon of salt, and 18 grams of fresh yeast. I'm mixing it with a little bit of water first. And then add 160 ml of water, 2 eggs, and mix to combine. So as this dough starts to come together, always in a rich yeast dough, then you add the butter. And for this, I need about 75 grams. Rather than just put the whole lot of butter in all at once, just drop little pieces in at a time. And then we need to knead this for about 3 or 4 minutes. Once the mixture is soft and tacky, add a little orange zest and combine in the mixer. And then, once you've got it to that stage, cover it over and leave it for an hour. So, after an hour, you end up with still quite a tacky dough. Take the dough out of the bowl and knock the air out of it. So all we do now is grab our fruit, pour it into the top, and then what I like to do really is cut this in. So you use a pastry cutter, fold it over, like that. Basically just tuck it in, like that. Once the fruit is well and truly combined, the dough can be divided and then put into moulds. I'm using a muffin tray. Take the mixture, which is very wet, a bit more flour in your hand, and very quickly just cup it as you roll it and lift. And once you get to that stage, we'll leave those as they are and let those prove for about 30 to 40 minutes. When you return, the panettone should have risen. All they need now is a brush of egg wash. Before being placed in a hot oven for 20 minutes until golden brown and risen. And now for the main event. Your homemade panettone. Just let them sit there nicely first of all, otherwise you'll never get them out of the moulds. Straight out of the oven. You get this great. You know when you try a really good scone recipe with clotted cream and jam? I reckon this is the Italian alternative. It is fantastic. But, just tastes delicious. Served with some rum butter, these moist and citrus-scented panettone are the perfect foodie gift to have on seasonal standby, especially when the carol singers come a-calling.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Now bring us some piggy pudding and bring some hot cheer. Won't go till we won't go, and we won't go till we got some, so bring some hot cheer. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
You got to sing for your supper in this house, you know. Bite-sized goodies like these are the perfect Christmas treat for family and friends. But what do you bake for guests who have everything? 19th century royalty were hard to impress. But as food historian Ivan Day explains, one chef did his best.
I'm going to make a sweet alternative Christmas gift. A boar's head cake made from sponge, filled with ice cream and covered in chocolate icing. This was a show-off culinary novelty fit for a royal table.
It may seem odd today, but boar's heads were served with great ceremony at medieval banquets. That tradition died out, but it was revived centuries later by Queen Victoria. Ivan's cake is from the same period and spoofs the popularity of the boar. Victoria kept a herd of boar at Windsor and gave the prize pork to her children as Christmas gifts. The heads would be stuffed, which became a craze that everyone followed, even cake makers.
This is a joke. It was very popular at this time to make lifelike dishes pretending to be savoury, but which were made from sweet ingredients.
The recipe Ivan's using comes from Charles Elmé Francatelli's book, The Royal Confectioner.
Francatelli was once the chef to Queen Victoria and specialised in elaborate dishes like this.
His recipe begins with a large sponge cake.
It's a bit like Michelangelo standing in front of a big block of marble and he's got to carve some amazing figure out of it.
This I've got to see. Ivan's going to sculpt it into the shape of a boar's head. He's using a pine cone to hold the mouth open, then covering it with chocolate icing, which will be roughed up to look like pig's hair.
I've modelled a couple of ears out of something called confectioner's pastry. It's a very sweet, flexible pastry. And then I've covered them with some of the chocolate icing. And what I'm going to try and do now is get the second one into position. And I just want to check that they're both the same height. That looks great.
Next, the eyes. He makes these with white sugar paste laid over marbles. Don't eat those. He also uses sugar paste for the tusks. During Victoria's reign, festive food became more over the top. Her royal banquets were often a celebration of the lavish feast that had happened in the Middle Ages.
At these great Christmas feasts, the boar's head was often paraded into the dining room with a great deal of ceremony, perhaps symbolising the victory of the hunter over the beast of the forest.
There was even a medieval carol sung to mark the arrival of the grand platter.
The boar's head, as I understand, is the rarest dish in all this land, which thus bedecked with a gay garland, let us serve with a song.
No breaking into song for you, Ivan. There's still some work to do. Like garnishing the base with round and square jellies. Then filling the back of the boar's neck with ice cream. Finally, he needs to decorate the head with sweet treats, like truffles on skewers. These would represent the woodland truffles that would have been served on the real boar's head.
So, as in this wonderful old carol, my boar's head is bedecked with a gay garland of oak leaves and acorns, the fruits of the forest.
So it now looks fit for a royal, but will it impress a commoner? Go on, Ivan, make a pig of yourself.
Here we go. The ice cream is superb. Mr. Whippy, eat your heart out. The chocolate is lovely too. It's really delicious. And it will make a terrible mess once it's completely calm. It does taste good though.
Having good friends and family round your dinner table really is the true gift of Christmas. And this year I must have been a very good boy, as my friend and baking icon, Mary Berry, is dropping in for a seasonal supper.
Hello.
Mary. How are you?
Lovely to see you. And a happy Christmas.
Very much, you too. Come on through.
Right, straight to the kitchen, I bet.
Well, I think so, absolutely. And boy, do I plan to spoil her with a little bit of seafood luxury and everyone's favourite side order. Now, what do you cook Mary Berry when she comes round to your house?
I think it looks as though it's sheer indulgence, luxury, something so, so special. Could there be anything more?
Exactly. Well, somebody told me you like lobster thermidor. Is that right?
It's heaven on a plate for me.
Okay. What is it about lobster thermidor you like about this time of the year?
Well, I think it's the greatest treat. It's the sort of thing you do for 2 or 4, really, don't you? Because it's so luxurious.
2 of us will eat that, won't we?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But that's an absolute beauty, isn't it?
It's lovely, isn't it? So do you often do this at home, or is it something that you kind of have when you're eating out?
Definitely when I'm eating out.
Okay.
And it's something that on perhaps the time when it's a celebration, you know, an anniversary or a real treat night out, I would choose lobster thermidor.
Right.
But I bet yours is better.
Well, I don't know about that. So when was the first time you came across this stuff, then?
Oh, I can remember it. It was in the 60s, you know. It was very, very popular.
Right. To make the sauce, first chop a shallot and soften in a pan with a little butter. Then add some white wine and let it simmer till it's half its volume. Now, what about growing up for you as a kid? What was that like around sort of the festive period?
Great excitement.
Yeah. Was food still an important part of your life? It must have been then.
Oh, it was, yes. I mean, we didn't have turkey because it was just after the war. We used to have a cockerel. No, you don't have cockerels now, do you?
I tell you a little story.
Go on.
My dad was a farmer, and it was by sort of default, really, we got into farming. We started off with 6 pigs and ended up with about 3,000. And chickens, he got them cheap from the Exchange and Mart, which was the old magazine that
I remember
they all used to flick through with that sort of... Anyway, the reason why they were cheap, they were all cockerels, and we bought them as laying hens. And we didn't get any eggs at all, so we had plenty of cockerels to eat.
Oh, ideal for Christmas.
Yeah. In fact, a cockerel or a capon is a good idea for Christmas. Bigger and more flavourful than a chicken, and cheaper than a goose. Now add some fish stock to the pan. And again, reduce in volume before preparing some chanterelle mushrooms.
If you can't get chanterelle, which kind of mushroom would you choose?
But, you know, any mushrooms really will work for this sort of dish. It doesn't have to be wild mushrooms.
I would use the small chestnut mushroom slices.
Yeah, great flavour. So, is there a bit of best Christmas for you? Is there one that you remember more than any, or...?
The Christmases I liked best were my own children, when we did a play. You know, all the cousins
they do a
play. You know, they work it, they get to an age, the bigger ones work it out, and they all act. Right. And I love that. And I'm hoping now that my grandchildren, they're from 13 downwards, that perhaps they'll do a play. And it's really lovely seeing how they all react together.
To bring the sauce together, add some double cream to the pan, along with some Dijon mustard. In another pan, lightly fry the mushrooms in some more butter until they're softened. Then tip them onto a plate and season well. Now to tackle our pre-cooked lobster. So, now lobsters are purple, obviously, when they're alive. And they go this colour when they're cooked, all right?
Yep.
So what we're going to do is just pop that on there. And then, to prepare it, now, what nature has done for us is create a nice little line for us to follow.
Right.
So I always start with the head end first. So you need a really sharp, strong-bladed knife and something really heavy for this. So you insert the knife in.
So you put it right in the middle of the head?
Right in the middle, follow that line, right the way down, straight through, press. All right, like that. I always put it on a little bit of this paper because you never know what comes out of it, but a little bit of this. Get rid of that. Another bit of paper as well.
Do you know, I very rarely have cooked lobster. I cook lobster tails, and I'm doing it as a first course usually, giving people half a tail. And they're much smaller. This is an absolutely whacking-sized lobster.
Give the lobster a quick wash under a cold tap. And then remove the meat from the body. Simple enough. But to get all the meat from the claws, you might have to be a bit more heavy-handed.
Are you trying to get it?
I'm not trying to get it. The lobster get its own back.
You're doing quite well.
Oops. Covering the queen of British bacon with lobster shell isn't part of the plan. So I'm making this for you. Do you make anything for everybody at Christmas time, if there's food?
I often do foodie Christmas presents. People love homemade marmalade. I do mulberry jam. Not everybody has a mulberry tree.
Got a row of them in the garden. Delicious.
The main thing is not to wear a white shirt when you pick the mulberries because it goes all over you. And so I often make food presents, you know, and the grandchildren come and we make all sorts of biscuits and nicely presented. Now, that's typically chefy, isn't it? Putting your hands in it.
Sorry.
That's all right. No, it's all right, but I always think, you know, if I did that, the doorbell would ring or the dog would want to go out and I'd still have that all over my
The dog's already
hand.
out, Mary. You just let him out before you arrive.
OK.
Next, add the mushrooms. And then the lobster meat to the sauce. Along with some chopped parsley, salt and pepper, a squeeze of lemon juice, and some grated parmesan. Then add a couple of egg yolks and cook for 1 minute to thicken the sauce. Finally, pop the mix back into the washed lobster shells and top with breadcrumbs and some more Parmesan cheese. Right, so what we're going to do now is just
Well, this is a grill and a half.
This is it's a little grill.
Little grill.
I'm going to pop that under the grill for about a few minutes, just to grill. And the perfect accompaniment with lobster thermidor isn't a salad, Mary, it's chips. But not just any chips, double cooked chips. First cooked on a low temperature to soften, and then a higher temperature to crisp them up. And our lobster is ready too. Got all that lovely sauce in there.
Oh, lovely. It's just the right consistency. Now, I would actually take that. I wouldn't waste that sauce. I'd just trickle it down there, wouldn't you?
Mary,
just a little.
If you want to.
I do. I'm not going to waste it.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Happy with that?
Yes. And it's interesting how the egg yolk has thickened it up beautifully.
Right, these are about there.
Oh, lovely. Oh, I can hear them crisp.
Crispy, crispy, crispy chips.
That's what it's all about.
We've got a table waiting over there.
Right.
So which do you want, the chips or the lobster?
Without doubt, the lobster.
I thought you might say that.
I'm off then.
With rich lobster meat, creamy sauce, and crisp as you like fries, this is one classy fish and chip supper. Lucky us. Lobster and chips.
A real treat.
It's delicious, that. Kind of weird, this, when you're a chef, you spend your life working in restaurants. You kind of cook all these dishes, but never really get a chance to sit and appreciate them. Do you know what, till today, I haven't had lobster thermidor for about, must be 20 years.
Well, if yours was 20 years, mine's 40 years. I think in my courting days, you know, sort of first anniversary of knowing my husband, I think we had lobster, but...
In your courting days?
Yes, yes.
Who chased who?
I'm not too sure.
They say it's better to give than receive. And these dishes and edible presents will certainly bring Christmas cheer to those lucky enough to eat them. They're my gift to you. Well, Mary, it's an absolute pleasure to see you as always. And happy Christmas.
And a happy Christmas to you.